Did you know over 65% of adults in the US are magnesium deficient? That can lead to muscle cramps, brain fog, headaches, and insomnia. Symbiotica's magnesium L-threonate is the only form that crosses the blood-brain barrier, delivering nutrients straight to your brain for better memory, focus, and mood. Symbiotica's formulas are pure, no artificial additives or hidden ingredients. It's a difference you can feel. With thousands of 5-star reviews, people swear by it. Refresh your spring routine with 20% off plus free shipping at symbiotica.com/rach. That's symbiotica.com/RACH. DirecTV is a better way to watch whatever you want to watch. We all know the frustration and confusion that comes from endlessly scrolling, trying to find your favorite shows. DirecTV brings together your live TV and apps into one home screen, helping you avoid the hassle of plugging in passwords again and again or wasting time searching for what to watch across platforms. With DirecTV, you spend more time watching and less time searching for your show. Sign up for DirecTV today at directtv.com. You know I love a question, right? Like literally my last book, entirely questions. That's all the book is about, is questions that you can ask yourself to take a deeper dive, to know yourself better. But this one, what is something I've been avoiding and why, is a really great moment to remind you that you don't have to make change just because you confront what's going on. Meaning, what is something I've been avoiding? That's one question. And why? That's a whole different question. It's enough to explore what you've been avoiding and why. And you don't need to do anything about it yet. I always say just knowing what's going on is empowering. Hey guys, it's Rach. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. And I have a favor, which sounds kind of harsh if we just met, but I'm assuming that most of you have been a part of this community for a hot minute. And so I gotta ask, are you subscribed to the podcast? Subscribing to the podcast you listen to regularly is one of the best things that you can do for hosts like me. It helps to support the show and the staff that works on it. It ensures that you never miss an episode when we drop a new one. And here's the cool thing about subscribing. If you do it and then you hate this show, just unsubscribe. It's one click away. In the meantime, if you're listening, we would so appreciate it if you would just tap that button and make it official. Hi guys, it's Rach. Welcome to the podcast and an entire episode devoted to one of my favorite subjects, journaling. Whether you are somebody who actively journals like I do, or you really want to get into it, or maybe you only pick up your journal every time you're having like an emotional meltdown. That's what I used to do when I was in my early 20s. I didn't journal regularly, but usually when I was PMSing or when something bad would happen at work or I'd have a problem with a friend or whatever, I'd get really deep in my feelings and journal like 10 pages at a time. So whatever your current journaling practice is, my intention with this episode today is to give you some ideas about how you can take that practice to the next level, how you can take a deeper dive. All of the things I'm going to talk about today are built for you to use with a journal you already have. If you've got a piece of paper, if you have a notepad, if you have a spiral bound notebook, if you got a fancy journal, if you have a dear diary from when you were 12 years old, it really doesn't matter what the tools are. It matters what the practice is. So my hope today is that I can give you a bunch of ideas that will help you get to know yourself even better than you already do. that's probably my favorite part about journaling is I feel like it's access to the greatest therapist you can have, which is your inner wisdom. By getting really quiet and writing about how I'm feeling, I feel like I always discover stuff I didn't realize was there. And yeah, so let's talk about all those things as well as I'm going to give you a bunch of journal prompts. This is actually a request I've gotten quite a lot over the years to give journal prompts. And I don't use journal prompts. I just sit down and just kind of write whatever's going on in my heart. But I've heard you've asked for it. So today's going to be just a whole big collection, big present from me to you about journaling and what to do in your journal. All right. So, where do I even begin? Allow me to tell a little backstory on my own journaling practice and how this showed up in my life, and then how it's been really helpful for me, not just in terms of processing my emotions, but also in terms of achieving my goals. Both things have been really instrumental inside the pages of a journal. So, I think like most girls who were born in the 80s or maybe even before then, I had a diary when I was little. And I would write about whoever I had a crush on in third grade, or, I'd write like secretly, like, I hate my mom. Like, I would get mad and I would write things in the diary. But I didn't really do it consistently until probably my 30s. Because before then, it was sporadic. It was a birthday would show up. It's the new year. Like I told you before, something was going on in my life and I wanted to process it. So if I go back and look at my journals I have my diaries going back to when I was a little girl, but if I look at my journaling in my 20s, it was a lot of drama, to be totally honest with you. I didn't really think about journaling just on the average Tuesday. I really only journaled when there was something going on in my life. And I don't think that there was anything wrong with that. It just means that when I look back in those journals now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, did anything good happen? Or were you, or was this just a whole bunch of chaos? I mean, maybe both were true. But all of that to say, if I could go back and give advice to myself in my early 20s, it would be to journal every day. To journal every day, to create that practice, to create that ritual in my life so that I adopted it much sooner, because it's just so important. I mean, Start Today, like that whole company was built around a journal practice. So it's just something I really believe in and have talked about a ton. And if you've never journaled before or you want to start journaling more, I have a few ideas for how you can make it easier on yourself. So my first piece of advice would be to give yourself a cue, not a time limit. Most people, when they think of journaling, they're like, well, I just need to journal for 10 minutes a day. Just 10 minutes a day. But that already feels like a chore. For me, journaling is a gift. It's something good in my life. And I like a cue because a cue is the easiest way to start building a habit. So if you don't know the structure of a habit, let me get nerdy for a second and tell you that a habit is built out of a cue, an action, a reward. Something happens that makes you think of the action that you want to take. Sometimes you don't even think of it. It's just so ingrained in you that you do it. And then you get some kind of a reward. So you wake up in the morning, every single morning, you go to the bathroom, and then you brush your teeth. The cue to brush your teeth is that you just came out of the bathroom, you washed your hands, now it's time to brush your teeth. The reward is your mouth doesn't taste like garbage anymore. Maybe you have a habit every single night of having snacks while you watch your favorite show on Netflix. So your cue is I press play on my Netflix, and then, oh, lo and behold, I get hungry and now I'm going to go have my snackies. And I'm going to sit here and binge this show and eat these snacks. And the reward is, yay, this feels good. And yay, the food was yummy. And cue, action, reward every single time. That is how a habit works. Now, side note, if you want to create great habits in your life, that's the structure. And also, if you have bad habits in your life that you don't want to keep doing, if you know that equation, cue, action, reward, then you can work around the habit by noticing the cue. So sorry, we're going off on a little bit of a tangent. I just feel like if you and I were having coffee, you'd be like, wait, explain that a little bit better. So let's say that you don't want to have snacks while you watch your Netflix every night. By knowing that watching Netflix is a cue for you, you can not watch Netflix. You can watch Netflix in a different setting. You can watch Netflix with intention, where you say, hey, we're going to go watch Bridgerton, but this is the time where you are usually triggered to snacks, so we're just going to consciously be aware of it. Or you can have your cue and go get carrot sticks because you just want the mouthfeel of chomping on something. Basically, notice what your cue is and change your action. I just wanted to give you that advice. If you want to add journaling into your life, think of a cue. Think of something you already do and use that habit. This is called habit stacking. Use that habit as your cue to journal. So you'll say, every single morning while I have my cup of coffee, I'm going to journal. Or every single time I sit down at my desk, I'm going to journal. Or every single time I get into bed at night, I'm going to journal. I started keeping a journal of my cycle. I've told you guys this for the longest time. I've had a note in my phone where I keep notes about what's going on in my hormone cycle. This is so crucial for me as a perimenopausal woman who really wants to be hyper aware of when my hormones get unbalanced. And the easiest way I've found to do that is to pay attention to my moods and make sure that they're aligning with what's going on in my life and my cycle. Whenever I experience a mood that's very different than I should be feeling, it's a signal to me that something's off. So I keep a cycle journal on my nightstand. And every single night, as soon as I get in bed, I just put the date, I put what day of my cycle I'm on, and I'll just do some notes. This was my workout for the day. Here's how I was feeling. Did anything happen? Like, was I super hungry? Did I feel tired? Did I feel moody? Did I cry? Just anything that's hormone related. So I have a journal that's just for my cycle. It stays on my nightstand. But the cue for that journaling session is getting into bed. And it's worth saying, in case you didn't think about it, you can use your journal for all sorts of things. I'm talking to you about journal prompts for emotional health, getting to know your intuition better, but I keep a journal for my cycle. I watched this documentary once with this amazing woman who had journaled every day of her life, but she just did like 3 sentences. It was like, October 3rd, went and got apples at the orchard today. Grandma's feeling sick. Tim got a new blue sweater. But she had that for like 50 years. It was so amazing. And I remember thinking, like, what an incredible gift that would be to give your children of this life that you had, just in these few sentences every single day. I have journals for my kids. When my kids were babies, I didn't want to do a baby book. So I have journals for them. And to be totally honest, I did not keep it up through all of their childhoods, but they all have like at least a year of letters from me where I would just journal. I'd say, it's July 5th and you're 2 years old and here's what's going on in your life and here's what I'm hoping for your future. So journals can have all sorts of purposes in our lives, but they can't have a purpose if you don't actually write in them. Give yourself a cue, not a time limit. My next piece of advice is think of it as a ritual, not a task. This is not something on your to-do list. This is a beautiful spiritual practice in your life. And honestly, if you feel like journaling every day is too much for you, maybe it's like a weekend thing. Maybe it's a part of self-care. Maybe every Sunday you sit down and you do some journal work. It doesn't have to be heavy. And in fact, if it feels really hard, you should take a look at that because this is supposed to be a good practice. Last piece of advice, if you want to get this into your life, is to use prompts. Not everybody can sit down and just free form, write endlessly, all sorts of topics. Not everybody has an inner monologue. I learned that a couple years ago, which is so absolutely wild to me because my brain never shuts up. But my husband No inner monologue. No voices talking to him in his head. He is just like, look at that bird. There is a dog. He's not like endlessly talking and narrating every part of his day like I am. If free form, free flow journaling feels hard for you, consider prompts. And don't worry, I got a whole bunch of them for you guys. Look, everyone knows that toilet paper is not created equal. Not all rolls are the same. Some are too soft. Some can, we say, sort of crumble, if you know what I'm saying. Then other toilet paper is so strong that it can actually hurt. And let's not even talk about the toilet paper that is so thin, it doesn't get the job done. Angel Soft is soft and strong and always affordable. Come on, life is too short. There's too much going on. I don't want to have to overthink this. So pick up a pack of Angel Soft in the toilet paper aisle of your nearest retailer. That's Angel Soft, soft and strong. Simple. If you've ever learned about nutrition in a way that you didn't know before, and suddenly you're way more thoughtful about what your food is made with, what's on the back of the label, it can be really confusing when you're first starting out to understand what means what you should buy for your family, and what you should leave at the store. Well, now you can spend less time at the grocery store thanks to Thrive Market, your new go-to online grocery store for getting all of your healthy essentials delivered. With over 1,000 harmful ingredients banned from their store, Thrive Market's team of product researchers do the hard work so you don't have to spend all of your time trying to figure out what is in the food you are ordering. Finding better options for your whole family is super easy with Thrive Market's Healthy Swap Scanner. You can scan a product you already have and it instantly recommends healthier items. Ready to make the switch? Go to thrivemarket.com/Rach for 30% off your first order plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/Rach. thrivemarket.com/Rach. All right, so let's jump into prompts. I'm going to talk you through what the prompt is and why I think it's really helpful. But feel free, if you're like, I'm interested in a deeper dive into myself, but I'm not really interested in writing in a journal today, well, feel free to use these prompts, pause the podcast episode, and just sit with it for a minute and think about your answers. Think about how you would write about that if you were sitting with your journal. I love physically writing my journal answers, physically writing in my journal. I think there's something really powerful that happens when you actually are physically writing something down. I also just love that I have 40 journals stacked in my closet, a lifetime of memories, a lifetime of goal setting, a lifetime of unpacking and dealing with things and learning and growing. And I can look back 5 years ago or 10 years ago and realize how far I've come. I think that's so incredible. So write it down if you can. And if you can't, just use this as a way for you to take a deeper dive as you drive in traffic today. Okay, so I'll just tell you that I broke the prompts down into sections because that felt fun. And as always, we're going to start with gratitude. Gratitude changes everything. Gratitude is an incredibly powerful practice that we all need. The more life feels hard, the more you're struggling, the more you feel frustrated, the greater distance there is between you and your gratitude practice. And even I need that reminder sometimes. The easiest thing to do is to sit down and make a list of things that you're grateful for. If you ever did Start Today with me, then you know my belief about this, that you should focus on something that has happened in the last 24 hours that you can find gratitude for. Yes, it's amazing to look at all the big picture stuff. I'm grateful for my house and I'm grateful for my babies and I'm grateful for my husband. But if you can focus on things that happen in the last 24 hours, there's just this this momentum that happens inside my brain where if I focus on the last 24 hours, my next 24 hours get better because I'm looking for the blessings in the day. And if you look for the blessings in the day, you're going to find them. So you can start by making a list. Just what are things that have happened in the last 24 hours that you feel really grateful for? Or feel free to steal one of these or try them all. Your first prompt is, what are 5 tiny things that brought me joy this week? 5 tiny things that brought me joy this week. I like to say tiny because this feels light, it feels fun, and it feels like a beautiful reminder that these simple, joyful gifts are all around us, but we need to look for them. I was sitting on my back step today having coffee. It's a daily practice of mine. Around 11 o'clock every day, I wander out of my studio, I go make myself a cup of coffee, and I sit on my back step and drink it. And today while I was sitting there, and there was a bush filled with these little yellow birds who were all eating something in the bush. I don't know what it was. And I don't know what kind of birds they were, but they were so cute and they were so pretty. And it was just this simple, tiny little thing, and it brought me joy. So what are 5 tiny things that brought you joy this week? Next prompt. What part of my life am I overlooking that's actually going really well? Gosh, that is such a good one, especially if you're an Enneagram 3 like me. You like to achieve things, you like to knock them off the list. Just to slow down and ask yourself, what is working? What is something that you are overlooking that's actually going really well? Next prompt. Who am I grateful for right now and why? Who? What is a person? I'll allow it if it's like an animal, a dog, a cat, a rabbit. You got some sort of creature in your life that you're really grateful for. But ideally, what is a human in your life that you feel really grateful for and why? Think of everything that you can think of. When you are imagining gratitude, guys, the best thing that you can do is replay the thing you're grateful for like you're watching a movie. So replay, who are you grateful for? Okay, I'm grateful for my wife. Okay, great. Why? Like, what is she doing? Go back in your mind. Oh, the other day we were standing in the kitchen and we were both laughing so hard. And when she got me that thing and that made me feel so special, or gosh, she's so beautiful. Go back in your mind and replay it like a movie, because when you visualize it, the gratitude fills up your body in a different way. The emotion really permeates in a different way when you feel it. See it like a movie. Your next prompt, what is something I have now that I used to wish for? What is something right now that you are experiencing, that you are living, that used to be your prayer? What is something you used to pray for that now you take for granted? It might be more than one thing. And with some of these prompts, if you get an idea, it comes to you quickly and you kind of run out of steam, that is actually a great opportunity to set a timer to say, okay, I'm going to write for 8 minutes, free form. I'm just going to keep writing. This is very different than your cue thing. This is like forcing yourself to continue writing for a certain amount of time. If you make yourself keep writing no matter what, you'll kind of write gibberish. You'll be like, there's the grass and I see a bird and I want some coffee. I'm kind of hungry. I need to pee. But if you keep going and you keep going, okay, what's something I have now that I used to wish for? What's something I have now that I'm taking for granted? You keep free form, just writing. All of a sudden, things will start to come out that you didn't realize were there. That's a really powerful trick to set a timer and force yourself to keep writing things. Last prompt, how can I romanticize or celebrate my life a little more this week? And if you're not familiar with that concept of romanticizing your life, I've done a podcast episode about it, but there's probably 1,000 videos on YouTube with girls romanticizing their life. And it's just this idea that you go out of your way to make things feel a little more special, a little bit more like they're happening in a movie, right? It can be something as simple as you're getting ready to go to work and you are just going to wear whatever, and you take 5 extra minutes and pick a top that really makes you feel beautiful, or you take a little extra time with your hair, or you treat yourself to your favorite cappuccino. Like, you just romanticize and really appreciate your life in a different way. That's a great one because that journal session is going to feel a little bit more like a list, which is so fun because you just give yourself a bunch of options of things that you can do or try today or this week, and they're all just going to make everything feel better. That was our gratitude section of journaling. Now let's go into personal growth. And I'll tell you, in case you're curious, we're doing gratitude, personal growth, emotions. We're going to have a little therapy session with ourselves, and then we're going to end with vision, future self, goal setting. We're touching all the things. So let's go into personal growth, self-discovery. This is an important check-in, which is why I'm including it as a journal session. If it's not something you want to journal about, at least be contemplating this in life, guys. Personal growth is an endless journey. I went to my very first personal development conference so long ago, heard Tony Robbins say, the training never stops. The training never stops. We are always going to look for how to become a better person, how to become a better partner, how to become a better boss, a better parent, a better friend, a better sister, better son, daughter, whatever. The training never stops. I assume if you're hanging out with me, listening to this podcast, it's because you're working on yourself. And it's really easy to get bogged down in the idea that it's not enough and you should be further along. No way, man. Personal development is something you're going to do for the rest of your life. So if you haven't checked in on that recently, here's some journal prompts. Number 1, what is something I've been avoiding and why? What is something I've been avoiding and why? Now, the great thing about a prompt is that 1,000 different people had an instantaneous reaction to that was different than the 1,000 other people. I've been avoiding that hard confrontation. I've been avoiding talking to my mom. I've been avoiding being honest about how much I'm drinking. I've been avoiding telling her that I don't want to go on the trip. Whatever it is, we all have a version of I've been avoiding this and why. You know I love a question, right? Like literally my last book, entirely questions. That's all the book is about, is questions that you can ask yourself to take a deeper dive, to know yourself better. But this one, what is something I've been avoiding and why, is a really great moment to remind you that you don't have to make change just because you confront what's going on. Meaning, what is something I've been avoiding? That's one question. And why? That's a whole different question. It's enough to explore what you've been avoiding and why, and you don't need to do anything about it yet. I always say just knowing what's going on is empowering. Try that one on for size. Second question, what do I really want beyond what I think I should want? What do I really want beyond what I think I should want? What do you want? If you're being really honest, if a fairy is here, a magical fairy godmother, she's waving a wand, she's like, what do you want? Let's just be honest with ourselves. Nobody else has to ever see this or know what you write down, but at the very least, you should be honest with yourself. What do you really want? Next question. When was the last time I felt proud of myself and what happened? Man, that's such a good one. Even that one, even like coming up with these, I didn't really sit with that one. And that one just like sort of banged me a little bit. Like, when was the last time I was proud of myself? honestly so dumb. I was trying to think of something like really good, but I did pretty good time on my 6 miles I ran last week. You know what, guys? We got to take what we can get. I wanted to be like, oh, guys, I felt proud of myself because I did this amazing thing, or I finished the first draft of my new book, or nope, I just ran 6 miles and I did it faster than I usually do, which felt fabulous. But honestly, we don't give ourselves enough credit. I freaking guarantee. Is it possible that there are somewhere in the midst of listeners, there's like one narcissist who's so over the top and gives himself way more credit than they deserve? Absolutely. But my instinct is that far and away, the mass majority of human beings on this planet do not give themselves credit for the things that they do. They don't give themselves credit for how hard it is to push through, to take care of their family, to show up for their responsibility, to drink the water, to take the supplements, to get the sleep, to say no to drugs, to like do all the things that you are currently doing that you don't even realize you should feel proud of. So take a moment or a whole journaling session and just ask, when was the last time you felt proud of yourself and why? And if nothing springs to mind, flip this one. Flip the prompt to, I am so proud of myself because ... and do that trick where you set the timer and you force yourself to write without stopping until some stuff starts pouring out. Visiting South Dakota was always one of my someday things. Like, well, someday I'm going to go see the Dakotas, and someday I'm going to walk through Badlands National Park, and someday I'm going to see Mount Rushmore in person. And then a couple summers ago, I just made someday today, and it was awesome. The kids and I had the most amazing time. We went hiking. We saw Mount Rushmore, which is like shockingly more majestic than you think it would be. We had amazing dinners. We stayed in this awesome log cabin in a national park. It was truly one of our favorite family vacations. And I loved it because it was this great blend of seeing a part of the U.S. I'd never seen before and being outside in nature. So maybe it's time you turn someday into today. See why there's so much South Dakota and so little time. Plan your escape at travelsouthdakota.com. Mother's Day is coming up, and that means a little Mother's Day gift. I love all sorts of things, but one of my favorites is jewelry, and Pandora is perfect for just that. So Pandora has all sorts of iconic jewelry, from their charms to necklaces, rings, earrings, and so many other items. There's a million ways that you can thank your mom or maybe buy yourself a little something this Mother's Day. Also, Pandora has in-store engraving. So wouldn't it be so fun to go to brunch and then go to Pandora for custom engraving? Like literally you could have something written in your handwriting and get it engraved on the jewelry. You can find out about all the fabulous things they have by visiting Pandora in-store or online at pandora.net. Next question. What does success look like for me in the next 6 months? What does success look like for me in the next 6 months? I say in the next 6 months because most of us have a vision for what success looks like 5 or 10 years down the road. But 6 months from now, you might not be able to pursue the ultimate capital S success because of what's going on seasonally. So if you're, gonna have a baby, or you're going through a hard breakup, or I could come up with 50 different ideas, but you all know about seasons of life. Not every season is a harvest. Some seasons are about planting. Some seasons are about taking care of our health or taking care of our family. They're not a season where we put our foot on the gas pedal. Knowing what season you're in, what does success look like in the next 6 months? I told some of you on book tour that I started this year with an approach to goal setting that was very different than I had done before. So I typically would pick a big goal for the entire year, and here's what I want to achieve. And this year, I thought I would try and just set 3 things per quarter that would be my version of success based on what was going on in my life. And the honest truth was, Q1 was so successful. But if I had done my big annual goal, I know I wouldn't have achieved the things I achieved in quarter 1. And many times I was like, these aren't that sexy. These are not that exciting, because they were like needle movers, but they weren't like, oh, I made $1 billion. It was like, I want to be in the best shape of my life. That was one of my goals. I want to be in the best shape of my life. Well, if I want to be in the best shape of my life, that looks like some pretty specific choices. But it wasn't like I want to achieve these big career goals. It was just this personal thing. Another one of my goals for Q1 was really figuring out a plan and a support for my daughter. So my daughter was really struggling in school. I felt really confident what was going on, but I wanted to like talk to doctors and do the testing and figure it out. And I told you guys in an episode, I don't know, it was like a recent Ask Rach or something, where I said that Noah has been diagnosed with ADHD, which we totally knew based on a Google search, but was able to work with a child psychologist, figure that out, find supplements for her, change her diet. Oh my gosh, what a gift. I'm so grateful. Changed everything, like changed her nanny, changed her schedule at school, like super hardcore, very nitty gritty, granular. And for months and months, it felt like things are getting worse before they're getting better. You know, when you're trying to like create a new system, oftentimes you have to like break apart the old system, and that feels clunky and that feels hard and that feels impossible. But I could literally cry. I am so grateful for how well she is doing. Oh, I can't even. Sorry, again, not what this episode's about, but I know that if I had done my usual like work goal for the entire year, I don't think that she'd be thriving the way that she is. I think it was because I broke it down. I said, what is success this season? And the bottom line is, it doesn't matter what my success looks like in work or on myself. If my kid is struggling, that means every part of my most core foundation is going to struggle. So by forcing myself to ask, what does success look like in this season? I came up with that. I don't want Noah to survive. I don't want her to just get by at school. I want her to thrive. And that meant we had to get really, really specific on what would help her to do that. Sorry, I went off on a tangent, but if you are a parent, or maybe you have ADHD, you'll understand what a big deal it is to figure out a plan and get some support. Back to my list. What does success look like for me in this season? Last one on the personal growth and self-discovery tip. What is a limiting belief that might be holding me back right now? Now, if you don't know about a limiting belief, if you've never heard this term, on the most basic level, a limiting belief is anything that you believe that is not helping you. Now, I think probably the greatest person on the planet to discuss this, I guarantee you can find a podcast episode or YouTube, is Tony Robbins. I've mentioned him twice in one episode. He must be top of mind, but he has talked and taught so much about this. And if you want anyone to fire you up on how great you are and stop believing the things that your mind tells you, he's the guy. But just at the most basic level, if you are at point A and you want to get to point B, and there is any story that you are telling yourself that is not helping you get where you want to go, that's a limiting belief. And remember, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. Sit with that for a second. Your beliefs are not the truth. They're not the universal truth. The thing that you believe about yourself, that's not true. That's just the thought you kept thinking. I hope I just blew your mind. Maybe go do a journaling session on just that idea. But what is a limiting belief? What is something that you believe right now about yourself, about the world, about your job, about where you're at that is not helping you in any way? Once you can identify it, then unpack it. How could you rewrite that limiting belief? All right, let's get into the emotional check-in. Let's be our own therapist. Here are some prompts to help you figure out how you're doing emotionally. Number 1 in this section, how am I doing? How am I doing? Emotionally, mentally, physically, take your pick or do all of them. Can you have a real come to Jesus, honest conversation with yourself about how you are? And now remember, you're human, so you're not going to be crushing it at everything, and you're not going to be failing at everything. So don't tell yourself that story. You're going to have some areas of life where things are going well. You're going to have some areas of life where you might be struggling, but let's just do a check-in. Let's see how it's going. That's prompt number 1. Second prompt, what am I holding on to that I'm ready to let go of? What am I holding on to that I'm ready to let go of? If you want to take a deep dive into this idea, I wrote a whole chapter about it in the new book, but you don't got to buy the book. You can go back in the podcast to episode 795. It's a couple weeks ago. I shared that chapter of the audiobook. So if this one resonates with you where you're like, I'm holding on to some stuff and the stuff I'm holding on to, it's keeping me anchored here. It's making me bitter. It's making me mean. Like, I don't want to be this person, or I don't want to be this scared all the time. I don't want to be this anxious all the time. I need to let go of some stuff. Episode 795, that's your episode. Or grab your journal, start writing, see what comes out. Next one. What am I craving more of in my life right now? What am I craving more of? I'll tell you, this one for me right now is like, I realize I'm going to unpack this with you guys over the next couple months. I just know that I am, because I've had this like big realization. I have been working from home since 2020. My entire life, from the time I was 15 years old, I had a job. In 2020, like most people, started working from home and never went back. And I think I'm done. Shocking. I don't really know how to like work with other people because most of my work is very solitary. But what I'm craving more of is I want to be around creative people. Last summer, I got to make a short film, and it was truly the most fun I've had in like, I can't even tell you how long. And I realized the thing I loved most about it is I was on a set with 50 creative people who were so excited to be there, were excited to collaborate, were excited to be a part of something. And that felt like magic. It felt like lightning in a bottle. It was so fabulous. Yeah, I'm tired of working in isolation. I'm tired of like communicating on Slack. I don't know what this looks like for me, but I know that that's what my spirit is calling for. I just need to be around some other people. So that's what I'm craving more of in life. I don't have a solution for that in my work, but I did go sign up for some classes. When I had this realization, I was like, oh, I want to go be around creative people. So I'm going to go sign up for classes with other creatives just so I can be in a different kind of energy, talk to some other humans besides my family. It's going to be great. I'll keep you guys posted. Okay, next prompt. Where do I feel the most stuck? And what would help me to feel more free? Where do I feel the most stuck right now? And what would help me to feel the most free? Last question on your emotional check-in. What am I afraid of? And what might happen if I face that fear? Whew, that's a good one. Last but not least, my favorite thing to journal about, future self, goal setting. Who are we becoming? I want you to put on some vibey music, maybe have a little espresso. That's my favorite way to go. And here are 5 prompts to get yourself going and get excited about what comes next. Number 1, if nothing stood in my way, what would I go after this year? If nothing stood in my way, what would I be doing right now? Second question, what does my ideal day look like, start to finish? If I have full control of my schedule, what is the perfect day? I get in bed at whatever time my bedtime is on my perfect day, and I'm like, whoo, yes, lived that one well. That is exactly what we want to be doing. Next question. Who is the future version of me that I want to grow into? The prompt I always gave you in Start Today journaling was, who is the best version of you 10 years in the future? And this is the power move. What habits do they have that I don't currently have? What is that person doing that current me needs to get super real with because I need to be doing them too? Next question. What's one small step I could take this week that would move me closer toward my dream? What's one small step? And honestly, on this one, you guys, challenge yourself to come up with like 30 answers. Because we get really in our heads and we try and make things perfect. We get analysis paralysis. I don't know what the one small step would be. Girl, just write down 50 ideas. If you forced yourself to write down 50 ideas, yes, a bunch of them are going to be crap, but a few of them might surprise you by being super awesome. Last question in the vision and future self section of your journaling prompts. What do I want my life to feel like a year from now? Not look like, not be like. What do I want my life to feel like a year from now? I hope that one of these prompts kind of hit you in a good way, in a loving, firm tap kind of way. Something I said, you were like, ooh, that's the one that I need to take a deep dive on. And I hope that you'll, whenever you get the chance, grab your notebook, grab your journal, grab a pen, give yourself some quiet time and just go explore. Write some things, see what happens, see what comes up. If you get sort of bored and you feel like nothing juicy is coming through, my favorite hack is to set the timer and force myself to write without stopping. Set your intention, like say a prayer before you journal, or set your intention, call on your spirit guides, call on that inner wisdom, call on something greater than yourself. Ask for guidance in your written word. There's so many beautiful, incredible insights that have come out by me sitting down with a piece of paper and a pen and seeing what happens. So I hope today's episode was helpful and encouraging for you guys. I hope you'll consider sharing it with someone who might love it too. We'll be back tomorrow with more conversation. But until then, as always, I love you and I'm rooting for you. The Rachel Hollis Podcast is produced by me, Rachel Hollis. It's edited by Andrew Weller and Jack Noble.
This season, let your shoes do the talking. Designer Shoe Warehouse is packed with fresh styles that speak to your whole vibe without saying a word. From cool sneakers that look good with everything, to easy sandals you'll want to wear on repeat, DSW has you covered. Find a shoe for every you from the brands you love, like Birkenstock, Nike, Adidas, New Balance, and more. Head to your DSW store or visit dsw.com today.